Welcome, everyone. It is August 17th, 2023, Networking for Introverts. Today, I have a topic prepared for you on food and your mood. And we will be talking about different foods that you are eating, or even we can even talk about some things that you're consuming that are not food, what you're watching, you're reading, you're hearing, even some thoughts that are swirling around in your head. And I also want to, if we have a little time towards the end, I want to talk a little bit about a program that that's like brewing in my head. And because you're my introverts peeps that keep showing up, I appreciate you and I want your feedback. So I have the Facebook Messenger chat. And I know Leslie was our guest speaker last month, and she mentioned to me that I should open up a Facebook group. So I would love to do that if you guys are willing to participate and, not make it too noisy, but chime in here and there. And if I put a post, making sure you're checking in and commenting. And if not, I can tag you. But like I said, it's not going to be too noisy, but because I'm putting together a program that's going to be called, I think it's going to be called the Introverted Leader Program. And there's going to be like 3 different levels, I guess you could say. There's going to be like a kids program, a teen program, and an adult program. So I want to chat with you about that later. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you.
Hi. All right, so we're going to get started with some of the food and mood. And like we usually run it, I might tell a little bit of information and then ask you for some feedback, or you can always raise your hand or stop me at any time if you need to interject or would like to interject or add some comments or feedback. But I was just doing a little bit of digging on just certain foods that we consume that might be affecting our mood or even the way we maybe look or feel on the outside. Most of the time we just go about our day and we're like, oh, I'm cranky or I'm nervous or anxious or whatever. And you don't really think about what you've been consuming, whether it is the food or it's something that you were hearing on the news in the background. Maybe you were at the grocery store and somebody was having a conversation that kind of maybe triggered something or ticked you off or just made you a little nervous or upset. And you just go about your day and you're like, I don't know, there's just something bothering me. I woke up fine, and all of a sudden it hit. So just taking some time to notice when these things start affecting us, we can pause and evaluate. And then you could even jot some notes down into a book or grab your phone, text yourself, email yourself, or in your notes app. You can just make some notes about how you're feeling in that moment. And then I know we've talked about this before in our introverts group, is flipping the script of the thoughts that are going through our heads, the words that are coming out of our mouth, or even like the way we're feeling and how we can process these emotions. So the reason this topic actually came up is I was looking at a group and someone posted on, I think she posted something on like dark chocolate, and I was like, ooh, I love dark chocolate. And so I opened up the link and I was like, oh, like all good stuff in there. And that was different foods. But it reminded me that when I guess introverts are more of a sensitive person, like you can be classified as highly sensitive. And obviously we don't like to always label ourselves, but in the grand scheme of things, sometimes we are more sensitive. We're more emotional, we're more internal thinkers. So when we hear stuff or we feel stuff, we tend to hold on to it. And that's not always a good thing because it can make us not feel well or make us nervous or whatever. But yeah, it just got me to thinking that certain foods can be stimulants or they can really drain us. So I looked at that article, but I also looked at another article, and I can always link the articles into this recording so that you guys can take a look at that. And then anybody that's not on the live, then you can look at that later. Okay, so are these foods good or bad for you? So if you are a sensitive person, like I mentioned, caffeine might be a trigger for anxiety or nerves. Or you might notice that if you do drink caffeine or have caffeine, you could be very short-tempered, possibly. Another thing that can affect you is refined sugars or even processed foods. And those things can affect your brain, your body, and your mood. So as I mentioned too, ever wonder why you get a little antsy or cranky or something just makes you snap? It could be that you're eating something that is triggering these feelings or emotions. It also could be something that you are lacking in your body. So nutrition is a big part of what we want to talk about too, is are you getting enough nutrition for your health, for your performance? Every day we do so many things, and we want to make sure that we are fueled from the inside out, down to the cellular level. We want to fuel the gut and the brain, because if you've heard about the gut brain connection, how if you're eating bad foods, it can make your gut not healthy. And in turn, it can make your brain not healthy. So you might not be able to think clear. Again, you might feel a little more foggy or just anxious, maybe frustrated, whatever it might be. It could be because of the foods that you're consuming. So we want to fuel our bodies with whole food nutrition. So fruits and vegetables, clean meats, and limiting those processed foods, refined sugars, things that are going to hurt your good gut bacteria instead of help them. And if you know me, or if you are one of my customers or clients, then you know that I am an affiliate for the Juice Plus company, and I absolutely love it. And it's changed my husband's health for the better over the last couple of years. So if you have any questions about that, I can share that with you at a later time. So that is always an option too. You still want to eat healthy, but it's just another way to give you that extra added nutrition on top of your balanced diet already. Let's see now, whole foods and this is a good one that I just read somewhere. You've probably heard that little saying that says you are what you eat. So if you eat really good food, then you're probably going to be more healthy. If you eat poor, you might not look so good or feel so good. But I heard a new one that I think is really important. And it is, you are what your body absorbs. So think about that. If you have any questions on that, we can always chat more later. Now, I'm not going to suggest any one certain lifestyle or diet, because everybody is so different that, some people like to do low carb, so they do more of a keto thing, or they do the Whole30 or the Mediterranean diet. There's no one size fits all. You really have to figure out what works for you, especially if you're a little more sensitive to the caffeine, the sugars, the processed foods. So just take note of how you feel when you eat those things, and maybe slowly start to eliminate them. And if you do eat them once in a while, maybe your body won't react as strongly as if you do it all the time. So you can heal your body over time by just eating more whole foods and supplementing with, higher nutritious supplements. The Mediterranean lifestyle overall is pretty well balanced because it's whole food based, lots of good fats like olive oils and avocados, fresh fruits and vegetables, clean meats. So if you're looking for an alternative way of lifestyle, you can look at the Mediterranean diet, or even the like the keto, but not like hard keto, maybe like Mediterranean / keto. So you're cutting out a lot of the refined carbs and sugars, but you're eating a lot of whole foods. So just some things to think about. And if you have any questions on that too, we can talk at a later date as well. But just find what works best for you and kind of go with that. Don't make any drastic changes like, oh, okay, well, I've been doing coffee or eating refined sugars, and then I'm just going to go cold turkey, because that will make your mood really crazy. So you want to slowly wean yourself off of certain things and include those more whole foods. Now, there's a list that I found in one of the articles on some of the good things that are good for your brain and your body. And beans are really good for you because they are magnesium rich, they help lower stress levels, and they also reduce some depression symptoms. So you can have a side dish of beans, or I've seen this really great recipe where you make like a gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free cookie dough, where you take garbanzo beans or white beans and you blend them with like a nut or a seed butter and some maple syrup and chocolate chips. And then it's like a cookie dough. Obviously, if you're used to real cookie dough, you have to get used to it. Like my husband says, whenever I make my good foods that I like to eat, he tries it and usually he's like, it's good, but it needs sugar or it needs more sweetener. And I'm like, yeah, but this is the way I like to eat. So it's not for anybody else. It's just for me. So you got to find the ways that work for you. But that's a really good snack if you want to like portion out little cups of that. That's really good for, a high protein snack. That's good in magnesium. And then like yesterday, I had a little container in the freezer. My husband made some taco meat, and then I had some black beans that I had frozen from previous, and I took a little scoop, I heated them up, added some chopped jalapenos to it, and I had a taco salad with a side of these delicious black beans that I make. So it was a really good magnesium rich and protein rich dinner, but it was also healthy because it was all whole foods. And I did have some mashed avocado with that too. So good healthy fats too. Does anyone not like beans here? Or maybe the beans affect you in a certain way that you try to avoid them? Anyone? No? I see
Yeah,
smiles.
sometimes I get bloated from the beans.
Yeah, I do beans, but once in a while. I felt pretty good yesterday because it was just a small portion of it. Anybody else? No? Okay, that's cool. Well, I'm going to move on to the next one, which is, let's see, berries. Berries are rich in antioxidant and flavonoids, and those can also help boost your mood when you feel down. So if you're feeling a little cranky or sad, have some raspberries or blueberries, blackberries, some strawberries too. But I like the darker berries. Those make me feel really good, especially blueberries. I love to buy the big, huge bag of wild blueberries that are frozen from Costco. And I will take them out of the freezer, let them defrost a little bit, mix them with some yogurt, or put them in my smoothie. I love blueberries. Anyone else love blueberries? Yeah. Yummy. So those are really good for your mood. And of course, like I mentioned before, the dark chocolate is what sparked this whole topic. And I absolutely love dark chocolate. It is also rich in flavonoids, and it helps with your cognition and your working brain memory. So it helps with your clarity. It helps you with your energy levels. Just as long as you're choosing more of like a 70% cacao and higher, it must have a low sugar content too. So some of the suggestions I have and I like, I think the brand, and I forgot to write it down and look it up, but I think it's Dr. Bronner's. I'll have to look that up. That one is maybe like a 70 or 80% dark chocolate with coconut sugar sweetener. So coconut sugar is really good because it doesn't spike your blood sugar. So it keeps you more level. And then the other brand that I absolutely love is the HU brand dark chocolate bars. And if you look in the candy section at a grocery store, their bars are like in a brown paper and it has a big HU on it. So it's easy to spot. But that's another one of my favorites because it's still dark chocolate and it has low sugar and it won't spike your blood sugar because of the coconut sugar. And then because I'm really weird, I will buy the 100% cacao chocolate chips and I will eat those as a snack, or I'll melt them into like my warm breakfast cereal. I like the bitterness, so there's no sugar added to those. And if you're interested in those, I can always find out the brand for that too. Anyone else like really dark chocolate? Yeah, Leslie. Oh, Brenda, you like it too. Nice. Yeah, so I can always share those with you. Some other really good whole foods are leafy greens, like those really dark leafy greens, spinach and kale, even arugula. And then I heard that the highest, what are they called? Oh gosh, I didn't write it down on here, but they just popped into my head. Those really bitter greens, collard greens. Those are like one of the highest nutritional value greens out there. Some people don't like them because they're really bitter. And if you've ever had them, you probably have had them cooked down with maybe some kind of a meat. And they're like in a southern cooking style. Yeah, and so they're really good that way, but they sort of lose their nutrition that way. But at least they're edible that way. Some people just can't stomach the whole bitterness of raw leafy greens. Does anyone grow their own food? Leslie? Yeah, what do you grow?
We have carrots, potatoes, strawberries. I think it was kale. I don't remember. It was some green leafy thing. I can't remember what it was, but tomatoes, cucumbers, green beans,
Nice.
cantaloupe, pumpkin, a whole variety of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the greens, like I have my tower garden, which I need to restart actually. So I'm going to be restarting that probably over the weekend. And when I took down my tower the last time, I had this huge kale plant. So because it was starting to be spring here, I transplanted it onto my balcony. And now I call it the kale tree because the stalk is like this thick and it just keeps growing. Like when you trim kale, you trim it from the bottom and then it just keeps growing from the top. So it looks like a tree. And I'll have to post a picture in the little group chat later, but it's really fun. But kale is super fun. Most people again don't like that really rough kale because it's kind of wiry. So if you do prepare raw kale, chop it small, and then you can toss it with like olive oil and vinegar, and then leave it aside for, 10, 20, 30 minutes, because it's so hearty that it will wilt down a little bit. You can add a little salt and that will help to wilt it down a little bit, and then it's more tender. Or by cooking it or steaming it a little bit, you can tenderize it and make it nice. Unlike spinach, where you put a bunch of spinach into a pot, and after you put the lid on it, after a few minutes, it's like this little tiny portion. So kale it can get like that, but choosing baby kale, which is more tender, similar to spinach, that can be more palatable if you're not into that rough, wiry type of greens. So kale or those greens, even arugula. Anyone like arugula or dislike arugula?
Is that the one with the red vein down the middle of it?
No, that is, what is that one called? Can't think of what it's called right now. Okay. The red vein is Swiss chard.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Arugula is very peppery. So I don't know how to describe the leaf. It's more of a long leaf, and it kind of is, I don't know, wiggly. I don't know how to describe it. But some people, when they eat arugula, they're like, ooh, it's too peppery, and it's very strong in flavor. So you'll know if you've had it and you're like, I don't like that. But anyway, so those dark leafy greens are really good for vitamin K and nitrate and folate and your beta carotene and so much more. I mean, there was just like a huge list of like all these things that help us with our nutrition and, getting blood circulation, and they're good for your heart and your brain and your gut. So making sure that you eat them on a regular basis and try them in different ways. Like you can steam them, you can saute them, you can chop them up real small into a salad, and try mixing different greens, so like lettuce with kale or spinach, and just having like a nice mix of different vegetables. Cabbage is another really good one that I like, and I didn't look up to see what really good nutritional value is in cabbage, but I always like to add cabbage to a salad, especially the purple, because it adds nice color. Is there anything else before I go on to the last few that you find when you eat it, you feel really good or energized, or when you eat something, it sort of drains your energy? I'd like to hear from all of you if possible, but if not, that's okay. We can move on. But Angela, is there anything that you think gives you really good energy or kind of drains you?
Well, I am admittedly not the best eater. You know that's about me. But one of the things so my husband and I have been trying to get healthier in this last few months. And one of the things I noticed makes the big difference is like, even when we're making like healthier like sandwiches and stuff, if we use like a whole grain bread versus like a white bread or something like that, that changes the dynamic. Like it's heartier, it lasts longer, it is more energizing. So I'll even do that. Like if I'm just doing like toast in the morning, like it'll get me through a lot longer than if I just use like a white toast. So, or white bread. That's what I got.
Okay.
That's what I noticed.
That makes sense, because if you're just eating the white bread, that will spike your blood sugar, and then it makes you sort of crash quicker. Whereas like the whole grain, they use the whole thing instead of just like taking off the outside, which is where some of the nutrition is, or a lot of the nutrition is. And your blood sugar is more likely to climb up real slow and then go back down really slow. So then you're not getting that crash, that craving, the hunger. So that does make sense. Good. I'm glad.
One of the other things that you were just talking about too, with like arugula and all that kind of stuff, one of the things that we've been trying to do is add that into sandwiches, like, because it kind of masks, that flavor. Yeah. But if you put it like with tomatoes or something that kind of like has a juicier, slightly sweeter taste, then it masks it a little bit. So sometimes we cut it up into like a healthier, like slaw almost, that we put on top of the sandwiches. So yeah.
I like that. How about you, Leslie?
I'm kind of like Angela. I don't eat very great all the time, but I will say I notice a night and day difference. Like if I eat something that's more processed, my heart feels like it's racing afterward. Like I feel really shaky, kind of just lethargic. And yeah, sometimes it's really tasty food, but it doesn't make me feel great. And no matter what we eat, when it's more whole food, I always feel like I just feel so happy. I don't know how to explain it. I love food anyway. Um, but whole food definitely just makes me feel better and I don't feel so jittery afterward. So,
Yes,
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, actually, recently my younger sister noticed that when she would eat gluten, her heart would race. And she didn't notice that until like my other sister and I have been doing like the gluten-free thing for several years. And we've been educating her on, eating a little bit better. And like, so I guess she didn't really notice it until we mentioned it. And then she was like, wow, I didn't realize this was happening to me. So, if she does eat something like that, she's like, oh, I noticed right away that, there must have been gluten in that. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Face breakout.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I try to stay away from it. But yeah,
Mhm.
I learned that through trial and error too.
Yeah. And that's how it works, is trial and error. It kind of stinks that we have to go through that, um, but yeah, when you have either, heart racing, digestive upset, headaches, skin irritation, yeah, it's like, okay, well, I guess my body isn't going to take that. So we'll just gotta avoid that, even though it's really sad certain times. Yeah. Thank you. Brenda, any things that give you energy or drain you?
Um, Definitely like what gives me energy is like when I eat like healthy food like vegetables, like fruits. I'm a very active person already, so I have to be eating, you know, clean eating. I do lots of meal prepping, make sure, you know, whatever vegetables I have, like I eat those like twice a day or three times. And then like I don't really buy like processed like packaged foods because I make everything from scratch. So if I ever go out with my friends, to eat out or something, like I definitely notice like my energy like draining, sucking the life out of me. And when I do go out to eat like the next day when if I'm gonna go work out, like I notice that I don't have that energy that I usually do. Like I'm ready to get a good workout or even at work too. I don't perform my best. So yeah, I'm a very conscientious person about that. Like I know like, I, I like to take care of myself, make it a lifestyle, like a habit.
That's great.
So
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And it does take a lot of time to prep
Mm,
food, especially when you make everything from scratch, but it is completely worth it. I mean, yeah, when you don't prep and you just reach for some kind of packaged food, which I tend to not buy a lot of packaged foods for myself either. But when I do, go to the grocery store when I'm hungry, it's like, oh, I could have those chips. And then I'm like, why did I buy those? Because they just kind of make me feel icky. But sometimes in the moment, it's like, okay, I didn't prep myself and I need to have this. I don't know whether it hurts me more or it gets me through, but yeah, prepping is the best. And especially summertime is the best too, especially in the Midwest, where we have our farmers markets open and fresh produce. And yeah, it's just so much better. So thank you. Jennifer, I know you're very conscious about what you eat too.
No.
Well, I know you're
I know about it,
And I
You know
like
about
food
it.
prepped for me, served for me. I feel so loved. And but I'm also like a little kid and can be really picky eater. So you know, if I'm not in the mood for something, I'm like, I'm hungry. And then my husband would be like, what do you want to eat? I'm like, I don't know. And it's like maybe because it's gone beyond the point of hunger, you know. So if I don't eat on a certain schedule, but then if I'm not hungry, then I don't eat, but then it makes it worse. So he's told me like I just need to eat a little something and then I'll probably get hungry from there.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I am not good with eating, and you're making me think maybe I should try a supplement for fruits and veggies. Although
Mhm.
sometimes those don't go over well either, but it just depends.
Yeah.
But I really do enjoy microgreens, especially this time of year. I
Yeah.
like them. I do eat more salads this time of year. In the winter, I don't. And what I've learned is just to add certain leafy greens to soup, just at the very end when it's done cooking, add it, and then I can eat my greens that way, and that just helps me digest them better.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't eat really well, Sabrina. I don't know why you thought that.
Well, I remember you in the past, you've said, you're very conscious of like things that affect you. So maybe that's what
Yes,
I meant.
I am. I am
Yeah.
about that. But, you know, I've actually been able to drink a little bit of caffeine in coffee now. I think because my B vitamins are at a good level.
Mhm.
Whereas I know what I have to take for that, or I can only have it maybe once per week or something like that.
Mhm.
If I am going to have that. And then that I think also had to do with being super sensitive was low stomach acid. And I
Mhm.
was trying to combat that naturally because that's what I thought I had to do. But then I found out I could have just taken HCl supplement and that would have been much better and saved me years of frustration.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a process with my body and learning those things, but also like God is so good in all of that, you know, and the sensitivities have been a blessing as well. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm glad I hopped on here, although I've been in and out a little bit of the conversation. But this has been really good discussion. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate you all chiming in. And then let's see, I have I think I just have one more and then we can wrap it up. Nuts. Nuts and seeds are really good for your brain and your cognition. Does anyone ever eat Brazil nuts? Those are like the big,
Yes.
yeah,
Selenium.
yes, yeah. So those are perfect for selenium, and they are higher in fat along with macadamia nuts. I love macadamia nuts, but you have to limit yourself because they're so loaded with good fats, but still they're fat. So if you eat 3 or 4 of the Brazil nuts every day, it's really good for your selenium levels. And then the macadamia nuts you can just mix into, like your trail mix or whatever. Walnuts are really good. And those are actually walnuts and macadamia nuts are really good for eating. For giving you your omegas in the body. But again, they're higher in calories. So you have to sort of limit yourself and find some other things like fruits or vegetables to supplement as you're eating those. Or, maybe have a handful of nuts here as a little snack and then a piece of fruit or vegetable in a little while after that, if you can't food combine. Because sometimes it's not just the one food, it could be the combination of foods that we're eating that are kind of throwing us off kilter or giving us maybe some bloating or gas or digestive upset, which then causes a little bit of brain fog. So just noticing that too is it takes time. And like Jennifer was saying, the food sensitivities, more and more people are having them. And I'm not sure that it's actually the food that is causing our sensitivities. I think it could be what they're spraying on our food, the way they're messing with the genetics of our food, all that crazy stuff that they're doing to our food is what is causing so many issues these days with the sensitivities, the allergies, and so on. that is a whole nother subject, but I just needed to mention that because, I've been on my own health kick. Well, my whole life I've been fairly healthy, but especially the last 3.5 years, I've been trying to figure out, what's causing certain issues. And thankfully, I think I'm at a really good point now where I can choose to have a little bit of processed foods, or, have that gluten-free bun when I go out to eat, and not come home and have like my skin break out. Whereas before, if I did that and had a glass of wine together with that, oh, I'd be so itchy. So now I feel like I've gotten to a point where I've healed my body enough that it can take some of the little choices that I make. Not that they're bad, but they're not 100% whole foods. So I just know that I can do those things now. And once you get to a really good point where you find what foods give you energy, what foods drain you, what foods affect your skin or your brain or your digestion, then you can limit those, you can heal your body, and then you can move forward from there. So is there anything else that just maybe I said or that anyone else mentioned that you would like to speak up on, or something that you're going to take away from today? Angela?
Yeah, I think one of the things is just to take all of these things and add them. Like I like as you were suggesting certain things, I'm like, man, there's a lot of different things that I could add beans to. Like there's that just would be that boost. Like I can remove something that's maybe not so good and add something that's just better. And then like you were saying, like to just make those small steps to like get healthier, and that transform, like that is a transformation over time. So I felt like instead of like, this was so helpful to not be like, why are we eating all this garbage? But like, okay, here are some healthy things that we can place into our lives. So it was more like charging than it was like deflating. Like we're like, everything I'm eating sucks. But yeah, so that's one of the things that I took away. So appreciate you,
Awesome.
Bryn.
Yeah, thank you. Leslie?
I took a whole list of notes of things to add and try, and like your HU chocolate thing, because Jess and I have a really bad sweet tooth, and he's like obsessed with gummies, and they're so not good for you. But we also, like, we don't eat during the day, and I find the earlier I eat, the more frequently I need to eat. So I try not to eat so that I'm not eating so much during the day. But I think it ends up being not very good for me. So we're trying to incorporate like smaller portions during the day instead of just eating way too much at one time at night and trying to make up for the day.
Yes.
Even if it is healthy whole foods, like it's still not good for us to eat ourselves to the point where we feel sick, So I am very grateful for all of your tips today.
Aw, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, definitely eating more smaller meals throughout the day. And like, just taking a little bit of time, maybe on a Sunday or Monday or whatever day you're off of work, or you have like a chunk of time, is, going to the grocery store and then doing a little bit of food prep. Yeah, it can be daunting, but if you can have fun with it, if you can grab a family member or somebody that also enjoys cooking or prepping, then it just makes it easier for you to do. And then you can portion it out into those little containers or little baggies or whatever it might be. And those can be a grab and go, or, in between your calls or your meetings or whatever you have going on that day. It's just easier to grab and munch instead of reaching for the bag of chips or just driving through a fast food restaurant, which I never do. If I do any kind of like if I don't prep enough for my day, I'll find a Whole Foods and go and find like, one of their salads, or, just grab some fruits and vegetables to munch on instead of fast food. I won't do it. I have to buy it for my niece and nephews, which I don't like, but they're kids, so I treat them well. All right, Brenda.
Um, Definitely, like everyone said, incorporating or adding, different foods.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to try Brazil nuts, so I should probably add that to my grocery list for next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good. They don't have too much flavor, but like 3 or 4 of them are really good for you. Yeah, so
Are
try
they
them.
like are they like big like
Yeah,
nuts
they're
or
like
little small
like the
ones?
size of your, I don't know, maybe the first two. No, not maybe not that big. I don't know, maybe the first section of my finger. They are pretty big though. That's why you only need a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Mhm.
just make a trail mix or something.
Yeah.
Just to get in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're really good at food prep. So, buying the raw
Mhm.
ones and always buying raw nuts are better because if you do want to toast them, then you can put them in a pan or in the oven or whatever. So buying raw is always the best. Or if you can find sprouted nuts or seeds, those are the best too. Just something that popped into my head. Yeah, so give it a try. Jennifer, anything to add?
Yeah, going through the healthy drive-through is also bad for your wallet because that's really expensive. And I've
Totally.
been going to, I think it's called Sweet Greens, and they
Mhm.
also have the huge chocolate or treats there.
That's right, they do.
And so they have the salads, but I don't know why a $15 salad tastes better than when I make it. Uh, but those are for times where I'm just like, okay, I need to eat and I don't have the energy and I waited too long. And so
Mhm.
fine, I'll do that. But then I think it prompts me to want to be able to prepare ahead of time. So I love how you talked about prepping and Martine could like chop up things super easy, but it just makes it so much easier to eat, like the celery if it's chopped or the cucumber if it's cut in advance. And so I want to get into that again. And I already have the containers for that, like I bought the like glass containers or whatever. Um, so I was doing that and then I stopped. So that's a good reminder that I'm gonna do to add back in because
Good.
yeah.
Yeah. Doing that food prep, and having like I said, someone to help you or to do it together, if they enjoy it more, or if they're really good at it, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
he doesn't mind doing that, And then Brenda just volunteered herself silently to prepare food and bring it over.
she
So why
did.
not? I'll
Thank you,
supply the
Brenda.
art supplies, Brenda, and Sabrina and you could come over and we could paint and
Oh,
forget
that's a good
Wendy, right?
idea.
We
We
don't
can,
need Wendy. You guys could just come over and I'll teach you.
yeah. And then we'll help food prep
Yeah,
for you
just
and
feed me
then
and it's all good.
yeah. Okay, we have a date.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah, food prepping together is way more fun and then it makes everyone um healthier too. Uh, and we've done some salad in a jar parties where like, we'll have a few people over and everyone will bring a vegetable or fruit or beans or meat or something. We'll make our own homemade dressing and then you put the dressing at the bottom, the heartier vegetables, like right above the dressing and then the like meat and then the lettuce or the softer greens at the top, so they don't wilt. And those last in your fridge 3 or 4 days. I wouldn't go any more than 4 or 5 days because then some of the vegetables might get a little wilty, but prepping 3 or 4 of those is super awesome. Plus they're pretty. So when you open your fridge, you're like, oh, look at how healthy I'm going to be for the next 3 days. And you can layer them with different colors and yeah, so it's really fun. So thank you all for being here. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I want to sign off early, but to let you guys go and have the rest of your day to yourself. But yeah, I do want to reach out to you and get some feedback on maybe some things that you as an introvert are maybe struggling with, or maybe you are doing really well with it because you maybe struggled in the past with it. And so I want to find out a little more about each of you, because I've been spending a lot of time with my niece and nephews and observing, especially my middle nephew, who is very introverted. He's very quiet. He's internal thinker. He observes so much. But then some of the questions he asks, I'm like, oh, you were listening. So that really observing him in particular, that has sparked this whole, like, I want to do a program geared towards kids, teens, and adults focused on the introverted leader. So, if I can maybe share in the little group, or even one-on-one, if you have something to share with me, that pops into your head, I would love to hear from you, and move forward from there. So again, thank you so much for being here today. If you're live, I appreciate you being here live. If you're watching the recording and you have any questions, please send me a message, and be sure to put the next one in your calendar for September. Oh, wait, 1 second. It is September 21st. That's the third Thursday of the month at 12 p.m. Central. Thank you, ladies. Have a good day.
Bye. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thanks,
You're
Sabrina.
welcome. Bye.